And now I would like to pass over to Alasdair Smith, who many of you know, from the Anti-Academies Alliance.
Okay, thanks. First things, we would not be in this room were it not for the fight of the staff and the parents at Downhills, and I think that's really important to remember. This conference is about stakeholders in education, and particularly parents and teachers coming together, and that's the most important thing. I'll come back to that point later. The other thing I want to do is thank the organisers of the conference, Julie Davis, Zena, Pat and Melian. I think they've done a fantastic job to get this together. What I want to start with is something that's not, I don't think it's been mentioned at all, maybe in some of the other workshops, just to give you a sense of the scale of the crisis that we face in education. I don't know how it can be this true, but it is. We are 500,000 primary school places short in this country. 500,000 children do not have a primary place in the next 4 years. That would mean we needed to build 412 new primary schools every year for 4 years. What is this government doing? What did the last government do? What have the politicians been doing? How can you miss 500,000 children? And I tell you what they've been doing. They've been fiddling with structures, pet projects, messing about for political reasons, as Jon said, and not looking at the real educational issues. And that's why I want to try and inject a sense of purpose here, because this problem ain't going away. This, they may think they can turn 2,000 schools into academies. That is not going to solve the problems of British education or English or whatever education. It's not going to solve any problems. It's going to exacerbate the problems. So we are here in a fight against what I would describe as a neoliberal model of education. It is driven by politics. I was asked to talk about raising achievement, and I don't really think I can do justice in such a short time, but essentially, and people have said this already today, if you want to raise achievement in a school system, you have to focus on the quality of teaching and learning. It's simple. It's really an issue about the quality of pedagogy. You can read all sorts of literature. John Hattie's book, Visible Learning's one of the most interesting recent ones, but Professor Dylan William has talked about this in great detail. And what his research shows is that the cheapest way to improve a school system is to focus on the existing cohort of teachers and give them the tools, give them the time and the support to improve their quality of teaching. It is the cheapest, most cost-effective, and yet what we're doing at the moment is we're undermining a generation of teachers by overloading them with workload, testing, an agenda that is driven from the centre rather than an agenda that is driven, like it is in Finland, driven by the teachers themselves. So I don't want to say much more about raising achievement in that context, but I do want to talk about, people talked about the middle tier, because this is a crucial issue. I don't know whether people noticed that Michael Wilshaw said recently that he wants to introduce local schools commissioners. These will be appointed people. It's not clear who they'd be appointed by, but the idea that the local authority is gone, actually, I think is being exaggerated. There are still statutory functions for the local authority that they have to go. So I don't think we should be throwing our hands up in the air and saying, oh, it's all over, the academy juggernaut can't be stopped, and it's bleak, because there is still a role for local authorities. I know here in Haringey, lots of you in this room are very angry with your local authority because you feel very strongly let down. But I want to urge you to think that the way to get the local authority to do its job properly is to get Gove. Because without getting Gove is at the centrepiece of this whole thing. Gove and Michael Wilshaw, the Chains, who've been behind the academy movement, are at the centre of this. If you read, Wendy gave me the consultation document from Downhills, and Lord Harris, in his introduction, he refers to my schools. They aren't the Harris Federation schools, they are my schools. This is how these people see it. This is paternalism. This is old-fashioned, Victorian paternalism. They think that these are rich people coming to do proud by poor people. That's really what they want to, that's really how they see it. This is not an answer to the education system. We do need an effective middle tier. I would love to see elected head teachers. I think we could do a lot more with our democracy. I remember ILEA, the Inner London Education Authority, which helped schools collaborate right across the capital. There are models in Alberta, in Canada. There is a fantastic model of local governance, of really effective local authorities. So there are examples where we can do do this better. So I want to just end by talking about what I think needs to be done from the conference, because it says where go next, and I'm really concerned that we get this right, because what is happening, that over there is a large pile of the newspapers that Downhill's parents have produced. These newspapers need to go into doors, houses, schools, workplaces right across the borough. We are only going to change this by building a big movement. You know, remember, we had 600 people in the public meeting in Downhills. We then had 1,000 people marching through Haringey. This made Downhills a national issue. It remains a national issue. The national press are watching what happens here. Gove has already said he doesn't want another Downhills. So what happens here, and our fight to stop Downhills being converted, and I still think it's possible to do so, and I'll tell you why. Because what also, and again, I don't think it's been mentioned today, the NUT group at Downhills have taken a courageous step to be balloted for industrial action. That means there is likely to be, and I think also the Unison members in the school are likely to do the same. Now, I can already imagine what the headlines will say. Oh, teachers taking strike action, parents shouldn't support that. That will be their game. And what I want us to think about in Haringey is how we can unite parents and teachers together so they can't play that divide and rule. Yes, it's going to be hard for parents if teachers take strike action, but we need combined, unified action that brings together the whole community. That's the first thing. The other thing is that Carpet have shops in North London, and they think if they can run our schools, I think I might be able to run their shops, and I might give them a demonstration about how to run their shops. So I want to take that message that, you know, listen, we are the 91%. Who actually agrees with the forced conversion of academies? There are so few people. If we mobilise the mass of us and actually use our political strength in that way, we are the 1%. And listen, you know, if you look at elsewhere in the country, there is gross dissatisfaction. That's the Galloway effect. You know, whatever you think about George Galloway, his election reflected the fact that people are disgusted with the status quo politics. And I think the Downhills movement reflects that. We are disgusted with the status quo. We're not going to be kept quiet as 90%. We are going to have our voice heard, and that means fighting back together. So, certainly the teachers and parents can unite. I hope that some head teachers will stick their heads above the parapet.
I hope governors will do the same. You know, sometimes head teachers feel very vulnerable in this, but I do think that what we've done here today is bring people out into the open and have the arguments out in the open. And that's a basis on which to move the campaign forward. So again, the Downhill parents have showed the way forward, but I think we can do this in all the other schools that have been affected and build a movement right across Haringey. All right.